Thanks to Audible's original series Impact Winter for sponsoring this video. Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in Episode 4 of The Walking Dead, Dead City.
Oh my god, oh man, what is that thing?
Shh, Doug, that's a zombie.
Oh, just like in The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, The Walking Dead. So let's talk about this episode. We open with a flashback to Negan's time as leader of the Saviors. We see him sitting in his signature spot at the head of the table in his office at the sanctuary. Next to him, we see his barbed wire bat, Lucille, and his classic red scarf from the comics. We also saw him wearing this scarf the very first time he met Maggie, and well, you know. In walks Simon, Negan's former right-hand man from the original series. Negan and Simon eventually have a big falling out, but for the bulk of the series, he's a loyal servant to Negan. Negan delegated offering pickups to characters like Simon.
Now, we're gonna go through the place and take half of everything you have.
So this scene takes place before Negan's introduction in Season 6 of The Walking Dead, so it's long before Simon's betrayal. While Simon is taking Negan down to the Croats' torture room, we hear him suggest to Negan that perhaps he would be a better fit for leadership training than a maniac like Croat.
Invest more authority in someone not unlike...
This is foreshadowing Simon's eventual betrayal and desire to replace Negan as leader of the Saviors.
There is the Simon that I know. Comes right at you instead of that backstabby bullshit.
So, in Episode 2 of Dead City, we heard Negan tell Maggie about a young girl from the kingdom that the Croat tortured, despite Negan having told him not to.
So I gave a direct order, let her walk. The Croat, he saw it differently.
So here we're getting to see the aftermath of that scene. Negan is unusually quiet in this scene. Instead, we hear Simon grilling the Croat for violating a direct order and telling him that kids are a line that they don't cross.
Kids is a line we do not cross.
Negan's silence shows us just how despondent he is by what the Croat has done. Negan is very rarely found speechless. He's realized that he tried to tame a beast that's untamable, and in the process created an even more psychotic monster. This eventually leads to Negan trying to down the Croat like a rabid dog.
I had one shot. I missed. Blew off his ear, the rest of them got away.
Oh no, that zombie's coming right at me. Oh wait, that friendly vampire from a few weeks ago has come to save the day.
Yeah, undead versus undead. You know, vampires who fight for the living remind me a lot of the Audible original Impact Winter. They're the sponsor of this video.
Impact Winter, what's that?
Well, Impact Winter is an Audible original series from executive producers of The Walking Dead and written by Travis Beacham, writer of Pacific Rim and creator of Carnival Row. I got into Impact Winter because I love apocalyptic stories like The Walking Dead.
What happens in the story?
Well, so basically, a comet struck the Earth, raising a cloud of dust that blots out the sun, so it's always winter and always dark. And because it's always dark, vampires are able to emerge from the shadows. You see, in this world, vampires are real.
Yeah, they are in this story too. It's pretty weird over there.
So the events of an Impact Winter are very real, but the audio series combines this with the fantastical element of vampires. The series adds so much to vampire lore that I had never heard before. I don't want to spoil anything, but it gets deep into the history and lore of vampires while set in this post-apocalyptic world. Mostly though, I got hooked on the characters. Its lead is named Darcy, a vampire hunter who's trying to shield her younger sister from the realities of this world. And just to stay spoiler-free, I'll say that Darcy might be the only person who can save the human race. It is incredibly fun and very immersive. In fact, I signed up for Audible just so I could listen to Season 2, launching on July 13th. And you can listen to Season 2 in Dolby Atmos on Audible if you have compatible Dolby Atmos gear. Audible has been putting together original blockbuster content that is essential listening, like the excellent Sandman series. See, series like Impact Winter are right up there with streaming content from HBO and Netflix. In fact, I love the show so much we are doing breakdowns of Season 2 and recapping Season 1. So, I highly recommend getting an Audible Premium membership and listening to Impact Winter with our link in the description. Now, back to what I was saying. At the end of last week's episode, Luther finds Negan's wanted poster and attacks him. And then, this happened. Other members of the group are now looking for Luther, but since Luther was very critical of the plan to save Herschel from the Croat, everyone just assumes that he left.
All I know is he wasn't real keen on this plan.
Here we can see Negan's hand wrapped up from his knock-knock joke injury.
Knock knock!
Negan asks Maggie if she's seen his matches. She lies and says no. But in the previous episode, we saw her using his matches to almost burn Jenny's stuffed dinosaur so that Negan wouldn't know that she was in New York. So Negan and Maggie are both hiding something from one another. Maggie's hiding the fact that Jenny has come to find him, and Negan is hiding that he inadvertently killed Luther. The guilt begins to eat away at Maggie, so she's going to tell Negan the truth about Jenny being in New York. But then she sees Luther's can of lip balm in Negan's bag. And this is actually kind of funny because we saw this scene last week.
I hear that's good for cuts. Can I bum a little bit? No.
When Maggie pieces together that Negan killed Luther, she seems pretty numb to it. Negan starts to explain himself, and she basically tells him that she doesn't want to hear it.
We don't have time for this.
This realization makes Maggie no longer feel obligated to tell Negan about Jenny. She views Luther's killing as a reminder of all the awful things Negan has done, as well as all the people he has killed. Here we can see the liquid fuel running in the sewers that we heard the Croat mention here.
The bodies break down, they produce methane. It can be pressurized into a liquid fuel.
Now when the Croat hears Negan's whistle, he asks the young girl next to him if she heard that.
Did you hear that?
This tells me that Negan has been living rent-free in Croat's head for years. We know that the Croat has been using Negan's infamous whistle and has been obsessed with replicating the old Negan tactics. But when he asks if she hears the whistle too, this shows us that he's been hearing that whistle in his head for a long time, living in a state of constant obsession over Negan. This is amplifying the Croat gleefully running toward the sound of Negan's whistle. He doesn't fear him, he's obsessed with him.
Why you so obsessed with me?
Now, when Maggie and the others get trapped in this fighting cage and are surrounded by walkers, we hear them begin to stab the walkers through the fence. This is just like back in season 3 of the original series when they were living at the prison and would kill walkers through the fence. When Negan and the Croat finally meet face to face, the Croat mentions that he heard what happened at the bank and knew that it had to be Negan's handiwork. This is in reference to Negan's theatrical knock-knock joke from episode 2. In that same episode, Negan revealed to Maggie what we all along expected. It's all an act that he uses to assert dominance and strike fear into his enemies.
You see, I was only a monster when I absolutely had to be. When I had to put on a show to protect my people.
The Croat asks Negan where Lucille is, to which Negan says,
She's gone.
I love the way that Jeffrey Dean Morgan delivered this line. You can tell that he isn't merely talking about his bat, but really his wife. He named his bat after his late wife who died of cancer. In the season 10 episode Here's Negan, we see him find Lucille in the exact same spot he dropped her all those years ago in his final battle with Rick. In this episode, we see him take the bat back to his cabin where he burns it.
I am sorry that I named a stupid baseball bat after you.
The Croat then says that he saw Jerome on the mainland and that he told him all about the war with Hilltop, the Kingdom, and Alexandria. Colton, who the hell's Jerome? Is he a savior?
I guess so. I mean, I went back and I checked to see if I could find any characters named Jerome in Negan's ranks in the Walking Dead series, but all I could find was this character from the comics who's actually a soldier at the Commonwealth, which of course was the community that we saw our group face off against in the final season of the original series. So maybe in the Walking Dead TV universe, one of the surviving saviors from the war went on to join the Commonwealth and became one of their stormtrooper style soldiers.
In other words, you don't know who Jerome is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Useless. Next time, just say that. Just say that and save us the trouble. Anyway, we hear the Croat refer to Maggie as the Widow, the name that Negan coined for her after he killed Glenn. As we saw last week, the Croat has captured the Marshal. When he throws the Marshal over the edge of the railing, it's as a sign of good faith to Negan. But he's surprised when Negan tries to save the Marshal, the man who's been pursuing him for murder. Not only does the Croat look surprised, he looks disappointed. His worst fears have come true. Negan has turned to the light. The Croat idolized Negan. After the death of the Croat's family, Negan was the man who brought him in and gave him a home, a new family. Together, they did horrible things. The Croat never viewed his torturing of that girl as him disobeying Negan. He thought that deep down, he was doing what Negan wanted. He wanted to impress Negan and show him that together, there's nothing they couldn't accomplish. So, when the Croat sees that his old boss has truly changed, he sees this as him having gone soft and having lost sight of their mission to conquer.
We'll build something bigger, stronger. The whole island will become our sanctuary.
So, as Negan is trying to pull up the Marshal, the Croat shoots the Marshal in the leg with one of these grappling gun things. And then he literally starts reeling him in like he's fishing and has a big catch. This is showing us a few things. When the scene started, it was Negan who was trying to lure the Croat away from Maggie and the others. But now it's the Croat who's trying to lure Negan back into his villainous ways. For their entire relationship, Negan and the Croat have been tugging at one another. Grow up. Negan has been trying to reel in the Croat from the start. He was happy to use his mania to his advantage when he needed it.
When a threat needed to be handled, It was a skill set that I found very useful.
But when Negan saw just how twisted the Croat could be, he tried to reel him in and get him to not take things to the extremes that he was notorious for. But Negan eventually realized that there was no going back for the Croat. He'd allow him to go as far as he had, and after having tortured this girl, Negan was done. The same can be said for the Croat toward Negan. He was constantly trying to impress Negan and pull him closer and closer with every heinous act. So they were essentially pulling at one another, but in totally opposite directions. And eventually, that line had to snap. For Negan, the breaking point was the death of the young girl. And for the Croat, it's the redemption of Negan.
It's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Ha 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 ha! Oh my gosh, you thought I was alive? That's hilarious. Well, I'm glad we could all put that weird misunderstanding behind us and we're all friends.
Yeah, and again, this reminds me of Impact Winter, where the story is driven by unlikely allies forming alliances against a greater threat. So don't forget to check out the Audible original Impact Winter by clicking our link in the description. What did you guys think of this episode of The Walking Dead? Do you have any thoughts or theories? Let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, why, welcome. Please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.